All right, good evening and welcome to episode number 39 of the Below the Yellow Line podcast. Happy holidays and happy new year. This is our last podcast of 2019. The end of the 2010s decade is near. So we're just going to have a big look back at what took place, and there's a lot future ahead. We have our special guest, Michael Hill, alongside with myself. I'm Joseph Landy Pavlon. Justin Hebert will join us later on. He is reportedly run a little bit late, but that's all good. Michael, thanks for joining.
Yeah, no problem. How's everyone doing today?
So yeah, obviously you guys know where to talk in the live chat. We're just going to talk some racing and ask Mike a few questions about his side of motorsports and where he sits for the future. So let's get started. Mike, how did you get into motorsports?
So I got into motorsports since I was at a real young age. Basically, since I was born. My family's been into racing since my grandfather. And then my dad raced. And then I started crewing ever since you were allowed to go inside a official pit area, which I believe was 14 years old.
Wow, that's really good. So you said your dad was in racing when we talked before going on the air. How does this impact lie upon your interest in motorsports?
Well, for me, watching my dad race, it was very fun watching him. Just saying, hey, that's my dad. At my local short track, just watching him. He always did good, top 10s, top 5s every week. Just I felt proud of that. That was my dad out there. I didn't care if he did bad one night, did good. I was just happy to say, hey, that's my dad. I could watch him. And it just got me into racing more.
So yeah, that leads to my next question. So your dad began racing. When he started and where in California did this all begin?
My dad first started actually motocross racing. Then some bad circumstances led to where he couldn't do that no more. And then later on, I was about 7 years old. So about 1997, 96 is when my dad started racing. It was back then called a Grand American Modified. Open wheel car. 96 was, they were a very young age for modifieds. And he raced, and now where I help crew at is Stockton, California, at the Stockton 99 Speedway.
So that's very great. So his impact, sure. Let's see, you're interested in building cars and putting them together. When was the first time you put a car together, like from scratch?
That was a very long time ago. I want to say 16 when I officially started crewing full time for one of my buddies' teams. When him and my dad raced against each other, and then I started helping him, and I still help him a little bit. He also races a modified. I think about 16 years old was probably the first time I really helped build one from the ground up.
Wow. So getting into the modifieds, what's the main difference between late model racing versus modified cars?
Over here in California, honestly, they're about the same. You can run the same kind of engine, 604, 602 engine, crate engines. They're basically the same thing. The only really difference is one's open wheel and one's not. There's been times where there was a dry spell with modifieds for a while, and there just wasn't very many people getting into them, and there would only be like 2 or 3 cars. And some tracks, it was like, you know what, let's forget it. Let's just run the modifieds and late models together. And it was actually a real good race watching them run together.
Like on the same track at the same time?
Yep.
Wow. That actually reminds me of sports car racing. Before the prototype classes split up in IMSA in 2019, the LMP2s and Daytona Prototype International, or known as DPIs, would be in the same class before regulations changed. And they split up.
Yeah, it was kind of like
But they
that.
competed for the same crown.
Yeah, they were competing for two different trophies that time. It's just, like I said, it was a time where it was a dry spell for modifieds, and no one wanted to get into them. And until here in California, someone made there's two kinds of touring divisions now for modifieds out here on the West Coast. There's the one division that I help run with. It's called the North State Modified Division. And now there's another one. It was Lucas Oil Modifieds, but now it's ran by Sears. It's called SRL.
All right. That's very good. And so you spend more time working on cars. Now, how did you become a crew chief? When did that begin?
That actually began last year. The team I work on now, the late model team I work on, my driver last year he's like, "You're my crew chief." We have a head car chief, that's his dad, and then he just named me the car chief because at the time I had the most experience on the team besides his dad.
Wow, that's really cool. And so you have a few drivers lined up. Tell me about the drivers who are behind the wheel of these cars, and where do they come from?
So we have our one newest driver. His name's Josh Smiley. He's from Tuolumne, California. His last year was his first official year in a stock car. He did pretty good. We're happy. We're very, very happy with him. He's excited for the next year coming up. We just actually got a new car for him. Put him in a new car. We had a little bit of an older car from last year, and we just bought a new car for him. It's good. It's a new updated chassis and everything in it.
That's great. So you got a few other drivers as well, right?
Yes. Our next one, I consider our second driver. He's second most experienced in our lineup. His name is Steve Cabral. He's been racing for about 3-4 years now. He's doing pretty good. Last year, I can't really say too much about last year with all of us. We just had a really bad year. Every team has good years and bad years, and last year was just a bad year for us. And then we have our one main driver, Dominic Lopez. He is the main driver and also team and car owners.
So he does field the cars.
Yes, he does.
Nice. And what's it like working with him?
It's fun. Our team it's a family environment for us. So, we have fun. We have fun out there, and then when it's time to get serious, we get serious. But it's more of a family environment.
That's always a good thing here. So you can always feel content with each other and work well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So let's get into a few headlines, and we see some stuff in the chat. Hey Blake. He says that is interesting, especially it's essentially multi-class racing, but lumped together, if that makes sense. Which, when we were explaining the modified versus late model deal, which took place when the modifieds had a low presence for a bit, and they actually joined with the late models.
Yeah.
So there's that. So let's go into our headlines. We don't have too much to talk about, as it's the off season. There's no races taking place, so we have a few things that we could bring up. First of all, Tommy Joe Martins, NASCAR Xfinity Series driver, will open his own team in 2020, and he'll drive the car. So we can see Tommy Joe Martins racing for his own equipment in the 2020 NASCAR Xfinity Series. There'll be more to come, as this is some new news. And then, of course, we don't just talk about NASCAR here. We have a lot of other motorsports, such as IMSA, and IndyCar, of course. Dragon Speed, they run in IMSA and IndyCar. They have a sports car program around the world. They will run 6 IndyCar races in the 2020 season, including the Indianapolis 500. So they're going to add to the number of drivers attempting or teams with drivers attempting the Indianapolis 500. You'll see them, of course. They won the 2019 Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona in the LMP2 class. So, yeah, Dragon Speed will be back. They announced their full-time LMP2 ambitions in North America, which is great. Good college football game on. It's bowl season. All right. Speaking of Daytona, Arrow Motorsport will race in a prototype car. I think they're racing in the LMP2 class. I'm not quite sure about that. I'll have to double check. But Arrow Motorsport will announce plans of racing in the 24 Hours of Daytona. More to come on that. Let me see. James Davison will also appear in the 24 Hours of Daytona, as well as the Chili Bowl for Jonathan Birds Racing. Now, listen, Jonathan Birds Racing and James Davison made a plan for 2020 to run all the big races. They'll be in the Daytona 500, the Rolex 24 of Daytona, the Chili Bowl Nationals in Tulsa, the Indianapolis 500. James Davison, he is related to Will and Alex Davison, Australian brothers. And in fact, James is a resident of Miami, Florida, so he's right close by here. And he does have a few Xfinity Series starts on road courses, so he's never ran on an oval. And speaking of the Chili Bowl, that gets into my next topic. There are currently 337 entries as of December 28th for the 2020 Chili Bowl Nationals.
That's going to be a lot of cars out there.
A lot of cars. And it's amazing how Christopher Bell won 3 in a row, because it's hard enough to get into the B main or C main, let alone win the whole thing. Of course, 3 years in a row. We've seen Rico Abreu do it. We've seen Swindell do it. Kevin Swindell, in the early 2010s, went back-to-back in the Chili Bowl Nationals. That's a tough race. And in fact, I think they deserve more credit, the winners of that, people who are entered, because it's tough to get in the first place.
Oh, yeah. And, they televise it on MAV TV, but I think that race needs to be televised more on a national level.
NBC. Like a bigger network. I agree.
It's a huge show.
All the heat races, that whole week is stretched out on nothing but racing. So 337 entries as of December 28th. And I say as of December 28th because the number of entries have blossomed every time I look. Within a few days, you can see another 5-10 entries. Another few days, another 5-10 entries. And so on. But I'll throw in a few names out there that will ring a few bells for you fans. I mentioned James Davison. Throw in Christopher Bell. Kyle Larson. Rico Abreu. Heck, you have Carson Elledge, who is the nephew of Dale Earnhardt. Chris Windom. I can throw in Sammy Swindell, one of the greatest dirt track racers of all time, will be in there. Many people think Christopher Bell is going to be the favorite to win this race. I think his time might be up. I mean, after all, it takes one little mistake and you won't even make it into one of the mains.
That's true, but he made quite a few mistakes last year during the A main, and he came back to win.
Oh, yeah. So Blake Cool said in the comments, I'm excited to see him run different disciplines of racing in all in one season. Absolutely. And he's referring to James Davison. He'll be racing in the Chili Bowl Nationals, the Daytona 24 Hours, the Daytona 500, and the Indianapolis 500, all in 2020. He's going to attempt to run all of them. 4 crown jewel events and 5 months apart. So yeah, there is that. Let's see what else we have here. On a sadder note, I do want to report that sports reporter Carly McCord was killed in that LSU plane crash. If you aren't aware of college football, LSU had a small plane that carried a group of fans and a few reporters, and that plane crashed while failing to take off, and 5 people, including Carly McCord, died as a result. This was Saturday morning before the college football playoff, and one of the people who were killed was a sports reporter named Carly McCord. So that's a very sad thing. I hate to report things on that, you know. So it's a tough story, and there's still like more breaking news that has followed as a result. And speaking of LSU, they will be in the college football final. I don't know if you watch college football, but this is the time of year when it starts to get exciting again.
And college football, probably not me. I'm mostly into the NFL, especially after last night's game.
Yeah, I'm into the NFL too. Personally, you see, I'm a Bruins fan. I'm also a Patriots fan. My family comes from Boston, so we have a lot of support for New England, and they don't have the bye this year.
Well, as a 49er fan, I would like to thank New England for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, yeah, you guys have a good quarterback because Jimmy Garoppolo is going to carry your team for a long time. I mean, the Patriots this is the first time they're not having a bye in the playoffs since 2010. But I'm still a believer. Kansas City Chiefs get the bye. It should be good. We also have on the headlines, WRT Audi will compete in the 2020 ADAC GT Masters, which is a GT competition in Germany, which the ADAC also hosts the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. They're one of the sanctioning bodies. The WRT Audi will also compete in the 12 Hours of Sebring. So they have an Audi GT3, and they'll race that Audi in Nürburgring and in Sebring. So there you have that. I know you're into short track racing, but how much endurance racing have you watched recently?
The only ones I really watched were the 24 Hours of Daytona, and if I can catch it, and if I'm not working, I'll watch the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Yeah, Daytona last year was unreal. We knew rain was on the horizon. We just didn't know how bad it was going to be.
Yeah.
It was horrendous. And not to mention the weather was so bad. And, endurance racing, they race rain or shine, right? Put on the wet tires, you keep on going. They had to red flag the race twice. And in fact, in that second red flag, they never continued. It was that bad. Or they didn't have time to clean up because the downpour was just on and on nonstop.
Yeah,
the infield grass was a pool.
It was like a hurricane coming through that area.
Now, mind you, I live in Boca Raton. That's about 4 hours south of Daytona, and there's a storm cell, right? And I'm not a weatherman, or maybe I try to be, But a storm cell, like you see on the map on the Weather Channel, you see this big blob, right? This red thing over where that place is, right?
Yeah.
And then here's Daytona, and here's where I'm at, like South Florida. That storm cell was under my area too, 4 hours away from the actual track. Daytona was just right in the center of it. And I remember the NBC Peacock pit box was completely drenched. And the best part about it was no thunder or lightning.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Because thunder or lightning would have thrown everyone under the covers.
Yeah.
And nobody likes doing that, especially at a racetrack. But yeah, Wayne Taylor Racing got the win. Those drivers, Jordan Taylor, Kamui Kobayashi, Fernando Alonso, and Ranger Van der Zandt, they won overall. And number 10, Konica Minolta Cadillac. So there's going to be a few different drivers on the lineup going into the next season, including IndyCar 5-time champion Scott Dixon will be behind the wheel of that. And they usually are better on the Michelin Endurance Cup. Personally, I think they were always a favorite to win because, you throw in another driver. How about Ryan Briscoe? He's a very seasoned driver. He'll be replacing Alonso.
The one person I'm actually interested in, I've been following her for quite a while. I've been a fan of hers for a while. Hailie Deegan's actually going to be racing in the 24 Hours of Daytona.
At the weekend, she will, but that's going to be in the 4-hour race in the Michelin Endurance Cup. No. Michelin Pilot Challenge.
Yeah, and, I'm interested in seeing if how well she's going to do with that.
But I think Hailie Deegan is ready to go on to Ford. Toyota has a stacked number of up-and-coming drivers.
Yep, yes they do, and I think they made
There's not too many spots in the Cup Series. There's a content Ford car team. When I say content, I mean these drivers are not going anywhere anytime soon.
Oh yeah, and
Kyle Busch.
I noticed when they revealed her car number is now the number 4 car. When who was it? He came down here. Kevin Harvick came down to Bakersfield, raced with the K&N cars. He made a big deal about Hailie Deegan and how good she is. He drives the number 4. I wonder if he kind of had a little, was in someone's ear saying, go sign her. He's a Ford driver also.
Personally, going back to Toyota just for a second before, because I know this Kevin Harvick thing is a great thing to talk about. Toyota has only really 5 Cup Series content teams, and one with steady drivers from Joe Gibbs Racing. Eric Jones may have had a little bit of an off year, but he's certain to come back in full song in 2020 and beyond. Kyle Busch is undoubtedly one of the best drivers as we speak. Denny Hamlin is back up to where he belongs. Martin Truex Jr. is unbelievably solid. I mean, I've never seen a solid driver like Martin Truex Jr. How steadily consistent he is. Maybe with a new crew chief, it might change. Who knows? But you can't replace the driver behind the wheel. And now Christopher Bell, the best up-and-coming driver, has found a ride in the Cup Series, kicking Matt Benedetto to the curb temporarily, because now he's in More Brothers, to Levine Family Racing, which is sort of like a satellite team to Joe Gibbs Racing, as they do work with each other and share some parts. The other Toyotas on the hand, the back burners. But going to their number of development drivers. Riley Herbst, Harrison Burton. Throw in Christian Eckes, what's his name? Rafael Lassard. We're already at 4 now. Chandler Smith, who is really, really hot, as far as I'm saying. And Derek Kraus. So we're at 6. Remove Haley Deegan from the picture, there would have been 7. And also remove a few drivers that are on the DJR Crosley Racing program. Because they moved to Ford. They're no longer Toyotas. So that takes Todd Gilliland out of the equation. There's still a stacked number of Toyota drivers in the development system. So Haley Deegan made the right decision, because if you look at Ford, there's really only a few drivers that ring a bell on the development system. Chase Briscoe and no longer Cole Custer, but they're still Austin Cindric. That's only 2, and they're in the Xfinity Series. Because their main truck series team, which is ThorSport, has veteran drivers. Grant Enfinger, Matt Crafton, Johnny Sauter, Ben Rhodes. They've all been racing for many years. And they seem content to be in the truck series. I don't see that changing anytime soon. Haley Deegan's in the right spot now. And Blake, I see you in the comment saying, I'm interested to see how Haley does in the Michelin Pilot Challenge. Apologize if I spelled the name wrong. It's Hailie. But I'm very interested too, because I've never seen the sports car racing side of Haley Deegan before. And Ford is giving that opportunity to her for the first time. She comes from off-road racing, not just dirt tracks, but off-road racing in the West Coast. We have Justin Hebert. Welcome to the podcast. How's it going, Justin?
Good. Sorry I'm kind of late. I had to go get groceries, which everybody understands that, because I couldn't go tomorrow because there's supposed to be a snowstorm where I live tomorrow. So that's why I had to go tonight, get some groceries.
If you don't know Michael, he's with us tonight. And Michael, yeah. Justin is from New Brunswick, so snowstorms are pretty common there, I suppose.
Yep.
So yeah, we were just talking about the development system of Haley Deegan and why Ford has more openings than Toyota does at the moment.
Yeah.
I think Haley made the right decision. Mm-hmm. So our 2020 plans will be racing full time in the ARCA series.
Yep.
It's the 20 race season.
Yep.
But I have a feeling she's still going to run a few races in the West Series or maybe the East Series.
Yeah.
I expect a truck race at Eldora. Who knows? There's a lot of doors open with this move.
Yeah, because you're talking about Ford and Ford. There's not many drivers. And even in ARCA, there's only one full-time team. DJR Crosley is the only full-time team, the 4-car. Other than this, you have one Chevrolet full-time car, which is the KBR development car. You have the Tim Richmond number 06, which is probably a Toyota. Maybe. Venturini will have,
their star drivers. They run part-time, however.
But Drew Dollar, full-time, number 15. But the 20 car will run all races, but 2 with someone unknown yet. Ron Repko 5, but then, Chandler Smith 13.
I apologize for technical difficulties. Michael will come back in a little bit. He's just has an issue. How's it going, Daniel Pinkham? DGR was Toyota. They're now Fords.
Yeah, but do you know what I've been hearing a lot? When Chandler Smith races, people say there's no competition. Well, some races there is, like Iowa.
There's always competition.
But some races,
unless he's driving by himself.
He's actually talented. That's the thing that nobody understands. People think that Haley Deegan's always the best thing, but nobody pays attention to the others, like Christian Eckes, Chandler Smith.
Christian Eckes is really the unsung hero.
Yeah, he missed the race and still won the.
All right, welcome back, Mike. Yeah.
And most of the Ford teams are part-time. There's a 17 DGR car, part-time. Club Racing, which is not a good car, part-time.
And you don't even know which teams will be good and won't be good until they're actually out there on the track.
We have Mullins Racing, which is Willie Mullins.
The
Three races.
Mullins team.
We have Josh Williams Racing. Like, we don't know. Like,
There's a lot to think about, and I think your mic's working, right, Michael?
Yeah. It
All
was
right,
just
now we're
kinda
good.
breaking in and out there.
Yeah, there we go. No, we're all good now. So Daniel Peak, 11 hours to go here before 2020. Yes, and they are a little bit ahead of us in New Zealand.
yep.
We're still on December 30th here, but
Yep.
yeah, but I still remember 2009 going into 2010
Yep.
like it was yesterday.
Well, my dad went from 1999 to 2000. Like, people thought, oh, would it be like people in the 80s were like, would it be cool to live till 2000? It was only
Now we're living to 2020.
yeah.
I mean, I hardly remember anything. I was born in '98, so I hardly remember
Well,
anything before 2000. But
I didn't. I was born 2002, 2 years after 2000. Like,
so you were late.
yep.
Michael, do you remember anything before 2000?
Oh. No, actually, I don't remember anything back that far.
Wow. So there's, I guess, we're gonna be back here. I'm sure 10 years in 2029. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be the one with the crystal ball, but
That would be-
if there's any reason for a crystal ball on the podcast, it's to talk about prediction for races.
Wait, you said 2029?
Yeah, that's 10 years from now.
I would be 27. Oh my, I would be 27.
I'll probably hit my mid-age crisis, but
Wait, you would be 31. At 30, oh wow.
it's like I said, I'll be in my 2020 flying cars. Well, then we'll never. Every time people say the next decade will be flying cars, they'll be flying cars in 2000. We need like a flying, road system with traffic lights where everybody's just floating on a red light.
Well, people think that for some reason people thought the first cars was like the Flintstone cars.
Yeah.
People thought that was the first car. With feet? No, that's not. That was never a car. That's just the Flintstones.
Yeah, it's a cartoon.
Yeah, it's not real. Like about talking about all the teams. Like, there's more Chevy teams in ARCA and Toyota teams. Like, Chevy teams, you have a lot of Chevy part-time teams like Our Motorsports, Scott Reeves in an unknown car, and GMS Racing. Like, GMS has Sam Mayer, which
He's gonna run the full season.
nope, he's running 10 races on ARCA. He'll be.
Oh, he's gonna run the what's it called? The showdown.
ARCA. Yep, all the showdown races. He'll run full-time ARCA East again. So he could run. He could maybe go back-to-back ARCA East championships, possibly. But Chandler Smith, he'll be running the ARCA Showdown plus 3 other races because he's born in June of 2020. He's born June. He's not born 2020. I meant 2002, so he'll be 18 in 2020. Don't know why I said he's born 2020. Okay.
No.
That's impossible. Really, way impossible.
Oh, that's
You didn't even see.
We'll have to be in 2045 to talk about racers born in 2020.
Yeah, but we're not in 2045. That's in like 26 years from now.
No.
That's far away.
Like I said, we were talking about the crystal ball here. So Justin, a few of the headlines we brought up earlier. Tommy Joe Martins will drive his own Xfinity car in 2020. We see Jonathan Birds Racing and James Davison will partner up together.
Yep.
Not only racing the Daytona 500 and Indy 500, but they'll also take part in the Chili Bowl and the 24 Hours of Daytona. So they're knocking out all the crown jewel races in a span of 5 months.
Yeah, like
let's see what else we have. Speaking of Daytona, Era Motorsport announces plans for their 24 Hours of Daytona. More to come. And Dragon Speed, a team that races sports cars, will field 6 IndyCar attempts, as well as the Indianapolis 500. WRT Audi will race in the 2020 ADAC GT Masters. If you don't know the ADAC, they are the sanctioning body that hosts the Nürburgring 24 Hours. That Audi team will also race in the 12 Hours of Sebring. And also, the Chili Bowl,
Yep.
as of December 20th, has 337 entries so far.
Yep.
We're not going to go by them, every one of them, because we would be
But-
here till the end of the
But,
decade.
but Joseph, I actually posted all the entries. I took an hour of just posting that. It took so many hours. I had to look. I'm like, oh, JJ Yaley, and yeah, and for some reason, sometimes my computer autocorrects Yaley to something else, like yellow. Don't know why. It's JJ Yellow. Like, don't know why, but like that's gonna be January 18th is the day of the Chili Bowl Nationals. Usually the week before.
It's the week, well, like the Monday of the week, I think, is when track activity begins because they have to
Yeah.
do so many heat races
Yep.
to get the mains together.
They also have
They have to handle 337 cars.
like they also have the Tulsa Shootout, which is another race.
It's a different kind of dirt car.
What we've seen big names like Christopher Bell win.
Oh,
it
yeah, they
last
still
year.
race those too.
Yeah, Christopher Bell won it last year and then won the Chili Bowl, which this year he'll be in the 84.
Can he make it to the A main again?
We'll see.
I mean, he just has to be smooth through the heats.
But it's weird. No, I wonder if Casey Kane will be in it because Casey Kane like runs that race, but I didn't see him yet on the entry list. He usually drives.
I have a feeling he's going to be on it.
Usually he drives a 67Z something.
Welcome,
like that.
Austin LaPlante, to the podcast. How's it going, Austin?
Good evening, all. Getting close to the end of this year. What are you all talking about? Time?
Getting close to the end of the year, getting close to the end of the decade. We're just talking about the Chili Bowl right now.
Yeah, in which Kyle Larson he's entered.
Oh, that I always enjoyed the last few years. I remember watching,
I remember the.
even though I don't have Map TV.
I remember. I know for me, I'll be actually having my camera on my computer on Skype because I have the channels all.
Good. I don't have it either.
Like I
but
remember, like about Kyle Larson, he's gonna be in the race also. Yeah,
he almost won the race last year.
but kind of choked.
It was a close one. Christopher Bell just gave it all, if you want to
And,
make clear
and,
sense.
and Hunter was pissed at me.
Yeah, we were in his video, actually.
Yeah, and he said Captain Einstein. I remember Stenhouse actually made it,
He made it to the A main,
and
which is like a win on its own.
there was another 17 that crashed, and Daniel Ford thought it was Stenhouse, but it was a 7.
Because you could put a letter after your number
Yeah, Stenhouse
and
had,
still use the same
there
number.
was the 17B, but Stenhouse had 17BC. So that's, and I remember Abreu actually crashed. Rico Abreu got into a wreck in the A main. It is
Rico Abreu is a 2-time winner. He won his races consecutively.
Yep.
Winning consecutively at the Chili Bowl, I think, is such a great accomplishment because it's so hard to get into the race. We are talking about 337 entries
Yep.
and how many mains they need to go through. Not just heats, but like D
Yeah.
mains, C mains, whatever mains, just to
Because-
get into the A main.
But do you want to know how many make the A main? Only 24 make the A main.
24. So, I mean,
So-
I love how computers have calculators. I'm going to pull one up. I would love to do some math right now.
I think there's like 300. Wait,
337. Well, I'm just doing this as of December 28th, meaning there's going to be probably more entries. 337, and let's divide the number by 24. You get 14.4. So you kind of get a 14 and 337 chance
of
of making the A main.
like it's hard to make that race. I've seen disappointments, including last year. I wanted Alex Bowman to make it, but he did not. But I hope this
There will be a lot of
Yep.
big names disappointed
Like Justin
by not
Allgaier.
even making it.
Like Allgaier, he's racing. JJ Yaley. Like you have big names in there. Donnie Schatz.
Donnie Schatz, Carson Ellich, Sammy Swindell, the greatest, one of the greatest drivers of all time, Sammy Swindell. And Blake, to answer your question, the Chili Bowl is an indoor arena crown jewel dirt race that takes place in the middle of January, usually a week before the 24 Hours of Daytona, featuring the best of the best dirt track racers of all time in the little sprint cars.
Yep. Which
It's one of the hardest races to win.
I've been watching the last two Chili Bowls, 2018 and 2019. I've heard of it, but I couldn't watch it because I haven't. Mav TV Canada only existed where I live in 2018. Literally like a week before, and and all I remember when they said about the chili bowl, they were saying, "Oh, that's wrong." And then I showed proof that the channel was there, and some people were mad, but and finding live streams for the chili bowl is hard. I remember a couple of years ago, Joseph Hunter had Ian on his old channel. He had a video, and you were trying to find a stream, and you said you had to pay like $20. So you said, "Screw that! I'm not paying $20 to just watch the chili bowl." It's the same thing when we wanted to watch the snowball derby. We didn't want to pay the $30.
I don't know what we found, but it was a blessing for that guy to open it up. We'll give it away because it's weeks
It's what
after
we
the
call
Twitch
illegal
stream.
streams.
Yeah, that dude was on his
Piracy. It's a crime.
Bootlegs.
This guy was on a Twitch stream, and we watched it, and that's why the podcast.
Yeah, that's why we had that podcast with
December 9th.
Robbie. It was a late one.
Yeah, and the week before we were discussing with Ronnie Osmer. The week before that,
And then, of course, right as soon as I go to bed, and the first thing I wake up to in the morning after the chili bowl,
the chili
Stephen
bowl-
Nasse
Wait, you said-
disqualified. Post
You mean
race
snowball?
inspection.
It's like
wait,
this. You mean snowball derby, by the way.
you said chili bowl?
It's not even January yet.
Yeah, we're
It's almost yet.
It's because you need to stay off the week. Okay, sorry, I had to do that.
Oh,
Is Daniel in the chat?
Daniel Pickham's in the chat. Not the
No,
Daniel
well,
you're going.
that's close enough.
But
Yeah, that we call New Zealand.
yes, speaking of New Zealand, Kyle Larson was involved in a pretty severe
Yeah.
crash. He walked away fine, but took a few hits as his car rolled on the front stretch. And Christopher Bell, I believe he was also in that same event.
Yeah,
He was also involved in a pretty bad
but
incident.
remember,
Yeah.
you know,
Tony Stewart won some races as well
Yes,
in
he did.
Indiana.
And do you know what I heard
You can
about
see
that?
those highlights on Michael McIntyre's YouTube channel, user RacerMac1988.
You know about the crash with Christopher Bell? People thought NASCAR made him quit. No, Christopher Bell decided not to continue because he could have got injured. So people thought,
Why would NASCAR make him quit?
people thought NASCAR.
That'd be abuse of power.
People thought that NASCAR called him Christopher.
That's JJ Yaley.
They basically
Yeah,
told
'cause
him,
yeah.
but
Sorry.
he didn't. So it was not NASCAR. Bell decided not to do it, and even Kyle Larson responded to the tweet and saying he's allowed to make those decisions. He could have got really injured. So
You know, there was actually a time in 2013 when after Tony Stewart's severe injury, which pulled him out of the Cup Series in 2013,
Yep.
that NASCAR drivers, they were asked, should NASCAR drivers be regulated for what they do outside of NASCAR? And the first thing I heard from many people, no. Let the drivers do what they want to do. And if
Yes.
they get injured,
Yes.
then so be it. It was their decision. And we even see this in NASCAR. Like Kyle Busch ran the Xfinity race at Daytona in 2015 and he broke his legs in that awful crash. And he got back and everything was fine. But what I'm trying to say
Yeah.
is that it's on the driver. If you want to do that, that's fine. But it's like signing a waiver at a water park. If
Yeah.
you fall off the slide,
Ugh.
that's not our fault.
Like
I would hate to picture that.
he actually decided to race it. Like we've seen other people get injured in crashes. Like Texas, the Xfinity race. Remember 2016 at Texas, the Cup race was actually was started later. Guess who drove the 83? Was actually Jeffrey Earnhardt. Reason: Matt DiBenedetto got a concussion the day before at Texas in the Xfinity race. He hit the wall hard in his car, and I guess later the next day, Brad Keselowski was talking about it on an interview about concussions because remember Dale Jr. got a concussion.
Dale Jr. was actually suffering in silence for a long time about his concussion.
The recent one was actually 2016. Remember at Michigan when Remember Chris Buescher got
He
loose,
hit like that wall, and you could see the body shake,
and he
and
wa-
his head like moved, and you could
Yep.
tell something was up. That big
Yep.
hit
he
derailed him.
he pancaked the wall, but he also hit AJ Allmendinger too. So, and he spun too. He spun down the back straightaway, caused a lot of damage to his car.
And it wasn't the first time that he had a concussion. If you go back to the big one at the end of the 2012 race at Talladega,
Oh, that race!
probably one of the biggest crashes, if not the biggest crash in modern history. He took so many big hits in that wreck, and
Yeah,
he missed the next two races due to concussion. So the 2016 concussion was not the first time he's had that.
but also
2002, remember Auto Club? He took that big hit.
that one.
He kept racing.
Yeah, but do you know what also triggered the outer concussion in 2012 before Talladega? He actually kind of got a little concussion. Tire test at Kansas. Blew a tire, running the bottom, going into 3, pancaked the wall where that part of the wall had no safer barrier. He pancaked it really hard. And he entered the corner at an odd angle, and he hit the wall really hard. That's where the symptoms started getting to him. That was really the week. That was a couple weeks before Talladega. Then Talladega, that's why they put Regan Smith in the 88 for 2 races. Which
Yeah.
that one race, Charlotte, one of the races he blew up that I remember. That's why Kurt Busch drove the 78, and then Kurt Busch drove the 78, and Regan Smith after Dale Jr.
He ran those 2 races,
in that 88 car,
and then that was the end of his 2012 season.
and he drove.
But that's when he moved. Hey, it worked out for him because he got a good deal in the Nationwide Series driving for Dale Jr.
He actually
The
won
2 races he ran in place of Dale Jr. was the reason pretty much why he ended up driving for Dale Jr. in 2013.
You know what? He actually ran the final race of the Xfinity
And won.
Series. Yeah, in the 5 car at Homestead in the 5.
I do remember that race because he made it like no competition. Won the race.
Yeah, he did better than his 2 teammates, Danica Patrick in the 7 and the 88 of Cole Witt.
Cole Witt's last great chance, I'd say, in the top tier.
Then he drove for Swan Racing, BK, TriStar, those little teams.
But hey, I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due because when he came in, Regan Smith, a lot of people say he was an undermined driver. In my opinion, he was better than many think that he was. He was pretty good.
Regan Smith almost won 2008 Talladega, drawing the 0-1.
Should have won it. In my opinion, a lot of people say that he should have been declared the winner.
But But
guess what? It proved what happened in 2009.
Yeah. Get rid of double yellow line rule. Simple as that.
Remember what happened? Tony Stewart forced Regan Smith below the line?
Absolutely.
Remember, Sauter did that to Riley Herbst. Then they gave the win to Spencer Boyd because he was the only one that didn't do anything like that. Like, remember when Spencer Boyd won? I'm like...
He led no laps.
Yeah, he led
That's the second time this year in the Truck Series that the winner led no laps. Brett Moffitt at Iowa and Spencer Boyd
at Talladega.
Yeah.
Like, it's so... I remember when, like, seeing that happen, like... We've seen people go below the line. Remember when Gregson got turned by Peters? Remember I said, Peters below the line, and do you know what I said?
Well, he never really made a pass below the line.
But guess who... But you know the scoreboard?
It showed Wendell Chavis.
It was first.
I was like, wait, what?
That would have been
like, I thought you were saying, oh, Wendell Chavis won the race. Like, no, he didn't.
But Wendell Chavis, that was actually his final truck race. That would have been weird
and finished his career with a top 5. So well done for him.
For premium in that 49 truck, which they don't have their truck program. They sold the truck to Ray Cicerelli. Which he got knife at Michigan somehow. I don't know.
Well, that race was a wreck fest. You can't really blame him.
The big crash when Crafton turned Ankrum.
It was like right at the restart.
Yep. I'm like, oh, and now
you know what? If that crash didn't happen, Matt Crafton probably wouldn't even been in the playoffs.
And Matt Crafton, who was it? Remember Natalie Decker just plowed in there? She literally
There's nowhere to go. Best race Natalie Decker had going into it.
She had ARCA brakes too.
Michael is back.
I'm back. Hopefully I fixed my internet.
All right, welcome back, Michael.
Hello, everyone.
I was looking here. Blake said removing the below the yellow line rule is like allowing people to cut corners on road courses. It won't go well. Like you're not allowed to cut a corner, obviously.
Yeah.
Like you
And in video games as well.
yeah, like literally, if you do that on NASCAR Heat 4, course penalty. You can't do that. Like turn 11 at Sonoma. You can't like cut the track to take the win. You can't shortcut. Can't take a shortcut. You can't take a shortcut. You know that.
Obviously not.
If
You
you
get
do
a
that-
time penalty.
Yeah.
No,
So
look.
we don't take shortcuts. We have to about oh my goodness. Also,
I want to say though, like the 2020 NASCAR Cup season is going to be really good. Like we have so many uncertainties. This is unbelievably good. We got so many rookies and
yeah.
guys that are coming in here with absolutely no experience,
Yep.
taking over the circuit.
Yeah, but there's only two drivers, couple drivers. No, the main rookies, like the main three. There's only two of them with Cup experience. Reddick with two Cup races ran. Cole Custer has 3 Cup races ran, while Christopher Bell has 0. But people think that the 95 is going to be better than the whole Joe Gibbs organization. I don't think so. I remember I heard this Christopher Bell fan said about Christopher Bell will beat Kyle Busch by 100 points and Denny Hamlin. He'll beat Eric Jones. He said it
Wrong. I don't think so.
But he's a rookie. Rookies are not supposed.
Rookies aren't supposed to be held by the expectations. Okay,
remember-
Daniel Pinkham. This is a good question. I'm sorry to cut you off here. This is a great question by Daniel Pinkham. Best moment of any motorsports in the 2010s decade. This is our last podcast in 2019, so why don't we go into this topic? What was some of the memorable moments of motorsports that took place in the 2010s decade? And why are we talking about them?
Jimmy Johnson winning his 7th championship, tying 2 other famous NASCAR drivers as well. My best moment right there.
I think that's a great
Dale
moment.
Earnhardt, Richard Petty, by the way. That's no discussion from me about it. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't even know what to say. I think one of the most memorable moments of motorsports in the 2010s decade. I mean, there's so many that you can pick and choose. I think it's the 2011 24 Hours of Le Mans. The battle between Audi and Peugeot was one of the most engaging fights for pride that motorsports has ever seen in recent history. And especially knowing where prototype racing has led itself into, especially Le Mans nowadays, and Peugeot being in its last race, how they were going all out to the end, which is something you don't really see too much at Le Mans, because usually the race is decided before the race is over, and then they just slowly finish the race, taking pictures. No, these guys were going all out to the end. And Blake said the 2012 Rolex 24 was one of the most memorable sports car races in the decade, in my opinion. What do you have to say, Justin?
For me, the most memorable, which I'm impressed from, was actually the 2015 Indianapolis 500. The reason why, remember Juan Pablo Montoya? He actually got into an incident. He was 30th. He moved his way up to the front with a little bit of damage and somehow won the race with that damage. He was 30th, and he passed a lot of cars to get to first. Which, at the end, remember, he made a late move for the lead.
Absolutely.
That's how he won the 2015 Indianapolis
His
500.
second Indy 500 win.
And another memorable thing, I remember that right before that, we had, the Formula One race. No, actually, 2017 race at, where did we race it? At Monaco.
Yes.
But when Jenson Button flipped over Pascal Wehrlein. Oh, I remember that, Mike.
Hey, how about the 2014 Bathurst 1000, Daniel Pinkerton?
Oh,
That race had one of the most ecstatic finishes in Australian racing. Probably the best race in 2014. Was the
We're gonna
Bathurst
talk
1000.
about. We're gonna talk about finishes. I think Tony Stewart's last win was a very, very good one.
yep.
Or how about Jeff
This is a highlight.
Gordon's
And
last?
Tony Stewart
Jeff
and his
Gordon's
former
official
teammate.
last one. I think that was a little bit better.
Yeah,
I remember that so
that was a
well.
good one.
Yeah, I'm
I was
pretty
a junior in high
sure
school watching that.
I'm pretty sure I was done with work at that time. I think.
2015. What race again?
Martinsville.
Martinsville race.
Yes, where is the puncher's ticket?
Wait.
I forget what the official quote was.
The championship 4 at Homestead. Gordon
Gordon wins Martinsville. Jinx.
That was when
I was in.
I think that was when everyone became a Kenseth fan for one race.
Yes. Yes. I actually sort of remember watching it. I think. Pretty
I was-
sure.
No one could believe it. Like, we've seen retaliation, but it was terrible, but it was just incredible at the same time because we never really thought Matt Kenseth would be that insane to do such a thing.
Also, I just
That-
realized I was actually an 8th grader at the time.
I was a junior in high school.
I was.
I was finishing up my first job.
I was literally just an 8th grader. So.
Yeah, you were one of the stupid ones. But what? I'm just kidding.
What?
How about the 2010 Monaco Grand Prix?
You can kick me from the chat.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
Sorry.
What about the 2010 Monaco Grand Prix?
Wait, let me go check 2010 Monaco because I didn't.
I actually don't have too much memory of that race.
I started watching F1 in
2012 won at Daytona.
I remember.
Oh, the
watching it
2012 Daytona
full-time in
500.
2015, and when it was another user actually uploaded the full F1 races. I think on replay. I think. If anyone remembers
The FIA really
the
does
LP
come back a lot.
2008.
Oh,
YouTube
Luis
channel
Alberto
or-
Perez. I know who you're talking about. I've seen because remember in
Yeah.
2013 NASCAR videos for some reason weren't going through the copyright system successfully.
Wait, do you want to know what?
Hey, that's pretty maybe possible memorable moments. A historic person uploading photo races that no one else cared.
Wait. Do you
Oh
wanna know
wait,
what-
that came out of my mouth so bad.
I know Armani's memorable moment that he would say. The 2012 Spanish Grand Prix, Pastor Maldonado.
Just knocking Lewis Hamilton out like he's a little ant
But I remember
on the floor.
And a pussy. Wait, what?
What?
Just
I
getting
remember-
knocked out by a broom.
I remember I was watching F1 Girl the Grid, which is a YouTube series. This was a couple of years ago. This was a couple of years ago in 2017, and they had a photo about Williams, about like the picture, and they said who's missing, and Lewis Hamilton couldn't stop laughing because it was like it's not Maldonado, is it?
Yeah, we
Wait,
do
was-
apologize for the language. I just would like to say that Pastor Maldonado and the Lewis Hamilton situation, like I was new to F1 at the time, so I just look back and say, and so why? Like, was it necessary? And had the 2011 Canadian Grand Prix, a race that had a controversial finish.
Oh, there's things that
Jensen Button winning that one.
Well, I've seen other weird things, or
Oh, I'll throw in the 2016 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix right there. Probably one of the greatest one of the greatest battles between teammates for a championship. How about Mark Webber won? Yeah, so Mark Webber won the 2010 Monaco Grand Prix. I was gonna say the Monaco Grand Prix with Jarno Trulli, but that wasn't in the 2010s.
hey,
It was 2004.
what about 2016 race at China, lap 1, well, in turn 1 when the contact when Danny Kvyat kind of that's where the nickname Torpedo came from. If people were wondering,
Because he threw himself into the pack like a torpedo. And then a few races later, he's gone. And guess what happens with his replacement driver? Wins on first attempt.
well,
Max Verstappen.
Well, Rosberg forced Hamilton in the grass. They both crashed themselves out.
True, but a win is a win. Oh, Daniel Pickup said Nissan Longueway Le Mans 2015. The front-wheel drive LMP1 disastrous plan by Nissan and the Nismo team. And the 2015 Le Mans 24 hours.
Now, I know we're talking about some asphalt, but what about some dirt?
Yes.
What about
Yeah, what about World of Outlaws? I mean, I personally don't watch much dirt track racing, but one of my favorite dirt races has to be the inaugural Midsummer Classic at Eldora. Something we've never seen before in the NASCAR Truck Series. And that everything in the qualifying races was amazing. We saw Ken Strader, a veteran, win the pole in his 60s,
Yep.
schooling the field in his own truck. Winning his heat. Heat races were amazing. And then the LCQ
Oh, that.
was unbelievable. Do you remember what
Norm
happened with
Benning.
Norm Benning?
Yep.
Okay, going into this, we thought, okay, he's just a backmark driver racing around for money, right? And that's all we know, Norm, right?
Yeah.
And then what we were about to see, he basically puts on a workout against another backmark, Clay Greenfield, and
And,
edges out Greenfield's Dodge just the right moment to make it the last spot into the A main.
but do you know who was behind? Guess who else was right behind him?
Who?
If they would have wrecked, Jimmy Weller would have made it. He was behind Greenfield.
And
they
he was
would've-
a favorite because he had issues that put him into the LCQ.
Like, Jimmy Weller was behind them in the 07. But I remember, do you want to know what happened out? Do you want to know how good that was? So many people were cheering on for Norm Benning.
Yes.
making it.
He made so many fans that day.
Like, even Brendan Gaughan, Richard Childress, Ty Dillon.
They actually helped put his beat up
Yeah,
truck
remember-
together. He beat up his truck trying to get into the A main.
And they actually fixed it. Like, Norm Benning, his shop in his two-car garage at his house in Pennsylvania.
His garage is a 2-car garage.
That's where his trucks are. Like,
Not in a shop like
no,
GMS or KBM.
no, in his house, at his house.
Give
in
the
his-
guy some credit when credit's
Right.
due, and he put himself on the spotlight. And every time they come back to Eldora, they love
that
to talk
moment.
about Norm Benning.
Like, we've seen, like, I remember him making the race. I'm like, oh my goodness, like he was in his he's in his 60s. at
That's
the
another
time.
factor too.
Like, he drove it, and he actually,
Expect the unexpected.
yeah, in that number 57 truck that he made it in. And also,
Orange Bowl is about to begin. Florida versus Virginia.
right now, the Senators are losing 2-0. The only NHL game is the Sens game.
Winter Classic is coming up pretty soon.
The Sens are losing 2-0 against Pittsburgh right now.
So yeah, let's get into another memorable. So yeah, about the actual main event, we saw a lot of competition and an unexpected winner. The winner would actually be Kyle Larson. No, it wasn't Larson. It was Austin Dillon.
in the
Larson
39
won
truck.
3 years later, but Austin Dillon drove in a cool joint plan by RSS Racing and Richard Childress Racing to put an American Ethanol Chevrolet together, and it worked out really, really well for them.
Yep.
And then we'll get into sim racing pretty too. But let's also talk about the guys Austin Dillon had to fend off. Kyle Larson, Ryan Newman.
Let me click that.
That was cool.
Let me
How about
look-
another race? What about another race?
That's
Uh,
we're still talking about best motorsports moments. You know what I mean? Best motorsports moments of this decade,
well,
or
also,
something else.
I
How about
remember-
sim racing? Jimmy Broadbent finally winning the 24 hours of Le Mans and iRacing this year. He worked so hard for that win. I see that, Blake.
Well, this is basically a personal notes. This is also the decade when I actually started playing NR 2003 at this time as well. I still have my wheel in my closet right now because I'm
I have
taking.
my Wii in my
Because
closet too.
I took this year off, and probably for much longer now.
Well,
Mainly because of work and basically other issues
also,
with some other people as well. Because there are words I am not going to say right now.
but like for me, I've been kind of for me, I've been kind of people in my people in my YouTube videos are kind of like saying that I should post more, but sometimes like I do post videos like today I did, but after this podcast I'll have to upload my F1 2019 video from Mexico, which I'm happy that I'm done at least one Let's Play because I have too many of them. Like I literally have right now uh I have a NASCAR Heat 2 chase mode, NASCAR Heat 3 chase mode, and NASCAR Heat 2 championship mode, which I'm not too the NASCAR Heat 2 championship mode I don't think is gonna end well because okay, for the truck series I'm driving Matt Crafton. Decent ride. But in the Xfinity series, I'll be driving Steven Light's 97 car, and
Not fun.
then I'll be driving Ty Dillon's 13 car in the Cup Series. So that's why I had to write some custom setups because NASCAR Heat 2 career
Hey, if you
mode
want setups, go to Michael Hill.
like NASCAR Heat 2, the career
I can help
mode
a little bit with that.
NASCAR Heat 2 career mode is easy on any difficulty, but championship mode's hard. Like that does not make sense.
That's gaming for you.
But then Heat 3's the opposite. Career mode's the hardest thing ever, and people actually gave up on that game, literally.
I heard.
Yeah.
So I would like to talk about a few things in IndyCar. So the 2020 Indy 500, we're already starting to get a little bit of a picture of what's going on. It's only almost 5 months away from now.
Yep.
It's just a little over 5 months from now.
St. Pete's and St. Pete will be the first race of the season, like always. Not Singapore.
No, not
Like, and we also starting to see some
we have a lot of new entries. Big rookie class coming in here. VK,
Venus BK,
Palu,
Oliver
Askew.
Yeah, like we're gonna have Andretti with their main three cars, but then they have Andretti, Harding, Steinbrenner Autosport with the 88 of Herta, and Andretti, Herta Autosport with Marco Andretti and Curb Agajanian, the 98 car. They have 5 total cars in that shop.
It's gonna be very interesting. I think Colton has a great shot at winning the title.
We have, but the thing about him, he's gonna face Scott Dixon, Will Power, Simon Pagenaud, Graham Rahal.
Penske's going to be the toughest team, in my opinion, to beat.
You have Joseph Newgarden, which won the championship. Pagenaud, that's won the championship in 2016. 2016. You have who else?
Will Power, 2014 champion.
And you have Scott Dixon, 2018 champ.
5-time champion Scott Dixon right there.
Like you have so many, and you're gonna.
I mean, the only big subtraction that we have from IndyCar is 4-time champion Sebastian Bourdais and possibly James Hinchcliffe.
But Rossi's going to be actually.
Rossi's going to be a threat. Andretti hasn't won a title since Brian Hunter-Reay back in
Ryan Hunter-Reay,
2012.
Like I'm just looking at it, we still have someone's going to run the Indy 500 in the third car for Aero McLaren SP.
I have a feeling that name might be Fernando Alonso.
AJ Foyt has 2 cars with unknown drivers, and Matthias Lace, I heard, is not returning. Possibly, I don't know yet.
I have a feeling Tony Kanaan will be there at least for the Indy 500.
Then we have Carlin, 2 Chevrolets with no people driving yet. They'll have Dale Coyne, Vassar Sullivan, a third car, another car, which that was Bourdais' car, which we don't know. It could be the thing could we maybe who is it? Who is it? The guy that we kept mocking. Oh, Santino Ferrucci. Maybe he'll be back. The 81 Dragon Speed doesn't
still undecided. But Dragon
Harvey-
Speed has announced their plans. They will race
Yeah.
6 events, including an attempt at the Indianapolis 500.
They'll race 1, 3, 6, 9, 14, and 17. Ed Carpenter will run the ovals. Connor Daly will drive the road courses and another car in the Indy 500. Renus VK full time. Jack Harvey will run the full season, the number 60 for Meyer Shank. Ray Hall, Louderman, Lanigan will have Ray Hall and Saddleback, and Penske has Newgarden, Power, and Pagenaud. Which their season starts on the 15th on March 15th, Sunday, March 15th at I almost said Singapore now.
Oh, you learned from my mistakes, haven't you?
St. Petersburg.
Exactly.
And the race for some reason starts at 3:30, which is not normal.
Usually they started like around noon or something.
Yeah, it's 3:30 now.
That's interesting, but that's okay.
Hope the cameras don't break. Remember
No,
Mill?
they won't. It's a
Remember the
very
Mill?
rare thing.
Remember the middle part of the race? Remember the cameras wouldn't work, but they just had the audio.
Same thing with Martinsville, the truck race.
But Martinsville
We
was
lost the
worse.
finish,
But I actually saw a thing on NASCAR.
but they later uploaded the
Harrison-
clear view of it.
Harrison Byrne actually got turned.
Yeah, there was like 2 separate spins on the final lap.
I heard Todd Gilliland won. I remember I heard and Todd Gilliland was so happy after that win that he yelled about he was so happy.
He said some provocative things about his owner,
Yeah, but
it later followed suit because he's not in there anymore.
I'm happy that Lassard has a ride because he has talent, and you have Christian Eckes there too, and people saying about I'm still hearing people Natalie Decker fans are saying about she should be in the 20 but not Harrison Byrne.
I don't know what they're thinking.
I don't like
The least she could do is get a top 10 in the truck series.
Well, that's not happened yet.
Still waiting.
People thought
Honestly, I don't like to be the big critic, but there are some drivers who do not belong in a cup car or in an Xfinity car. You get the deal.
Well, Joseph, 48 car 2021, Ray Black Jr. Oh God, remember when he was supposed to?
That's so what?
Remember
That's so what?
Remember when he was supposed to run full time in 2018 in the 51? They decided not to put him full time.
No, and I think they made the right decision. Daniel Pickett saying, "I remember losing coverage of the Chicagoland race. What Chicagoland race was that, buddy?
Yeah, because I don't remember.
Was it 2019? Because I remember 2019 had a terrible windstorm. You know, they call it Windy City for that reason.
The rain. The rain was the worst thing.
JJ to Fox Booth 202. What does that mean?
Oh,
2021?
It's probably a Fox thing. He has a Fox.
Who's gonna join Jeff Gordon in the booth someday?
Oh, that would be funny.
Oh, this year of the Chicagoland. Okay.
I think he has a station. Maybe it's his.
Yeah, it's probably where where they simulcasted his race.
But for me, it didn't happen. I remember.
You were on the edge of your seat. I remember that finish.
I was like, I had my camera on, like with my phone. I remember Ben told me to get water because I was sweating too much. I remember when the rain and like the rain happened during the red flag. I remember it was me, you, Brandon, you. We're all on Skype, just waiting for the rain, and people were like, "Oh, postpone it." And then I remember when the race started again. It literally was supposed to finish at 6 Eastern, but it started at 6 Eastern. Which for me, the
race finished under the lights.
For me, it ended around 10 o'clock, so it was 9 Eastern when it ended. I remember Kyle Larson making that. Remember Kyle Larson? When I saw the move with Larson, I did not expect Alex Bowman to make a move again, but he did. And I remember the next day. I remember the next day. We had the podcast.
All right, Michael is going to take off. Thank you so much for joining us. And have a good one. You're always welcome
no
back.
No problem, guys. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. And hopefully, once our season, I'll let you guys know how we're doing.
Thanks and good luck.
Thank you. Bye.
So to carry on about that, Chicagoland was a very interesting
Yep.
race weekend.
Yeah, I remember the next day. I remember it was Canada Day on the 1st, which was the next day. I remember on the podcast I said,
And Sergei Bobrovsky was signed by the Florida Panthers that day.
I remember I was saying about
Throwaway comment.
I remember I was saying about the results of like Bowman's recent finishes after Sonoma. Instead of saying first, I said 16th. Even if he won, I'm like, and Armand looked at me with a fist. I'm like, no, I meant first, not 16th.
Danny's here. How's it going, Danny?
Yo. What's up, guys?
Just chilling around here. We got some minutes. So come and contribute to what you want to do, man.
Man. Just been kind of a rough day.
Yeah, I've seen that. I was going to talk about some racing.
Dude, the
talking
Super
about-
season starts this Saturday. Can you believe it?
What season?
The Supercross season.
Oh yeah. Ken Roxon is like under everyone's microscope. If I'm
Dude,
no,
I know, man. He started off the year so good. He, trying to not to get injured, and he just didn't win the championship last year.
right. But hey, I mean, he finished second in the motocross championship here through the summer, so that was pretty good.
Yeah, that's a
He
good part.
he missed the what's that tournament called? Monster Energy Cup.
Monster
in
Energy
October.
Cup, yeah.
He missed it just to stay, away from the bike for a while.
Yeah.
But I think he'll be back in full song going into the 2020 campaign.
Yeah, I
be
guess,
good.
yeah.
Let's say let's just see. As of December 28th, there's been 337 reported entries for not the Snowball Derby, but the Chili Bowl. I called the Snowball Derby the Chili Bowl earlier tonight, but we're talking about the Chili Bowl Nationals here.
What happened, Justin?
5 of the I'm actually looking here.
My
5
phone's
of the,
blowing up.
5 of the supercars races will be tape delayed on NBC or an NBCSN. And
Supercar series? Are you kidding?
Supercross, Monster Energy Supercross. I meant some races will be on NBC Sports Gold, tape delayed on.
Oh, they've done that with the motocross.
Yeah, they have.
They did better with
And the Indianapolis 500.
Remember what was it? Oh well, there's still in IMSA, some races will still be on the tape delayed on NBCSN and showed on the app.
But at least the app is more accessible than NBC Sports Gold.
Fans Choice TV, I saw. All their programming from short tracks is now on NBC Sports NASCAR Pass.
I told
The
you
track
guys,
pass.
there's no such thing as a free lunch, and it wasn't going to last forever.
It's supposed to be,
Yeah, of course.
It's going to be $2.99 a month or $19 a year.
That's
to
not
watch
a bad
those
deal compared to anything related to
but I-
NBC Sports Gold.
races.
Wait,
I
what?
think-
Oh,
Well,
how much does it cost again?
$2.99 a month.
$19 a year.
Yeah, 19 a
Shit,
year.
that ain't bad.
But you know what's annoying? Canada can't access that because it's NBCSN. So I only get the Penny series on TSN's website. Any other race? Nope.
That's
The
no
only-
fun.
Also, I could watch the Cup, Truck, Xfinity, no problem. I could watch F1, IndyCar's unknown because Sportsnet has been.
Yeah,
But-
Sportsnet.
Oh.
I mean, I've not been a fan of them this year, and it's not just for racing purposes.
They've not been good with coverage with anything. They had to freaking put. Remember the Canada, like the Canadian Hockey League versus Russia. One of the games was freaking on OLN, which is a Sportsnet owned channel in Canada.
Is that Outdoor Life Network?
Canada still has that.
That turned into NBC to the Versus Network, which is
Oh.
now present to NBCSN.
For me, OLN is just
Wait,
owned
that's how it started?
Yeah,
like for me.
yeah,
OLN,
I'm not kidding.
For me, that.
But if OLN's still a thing in Canada, that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
owned by
That is
Sports,
very interesting.
So it's owned by Sportsnet.
so Sportsnet's like, oh, we can't put anything because random re-airs of poker and other programming. They're like, oh, we'll put it on OLN. I'm like, really? It's kind of weird. It's
That's interesting.
it's like freaking putting like it would be weird.
They did put the NHL on the OLN network because they knew later on it was going to turn to another channel.
Remember when NHL, some of the playoff game was on the Golf Channel?
Yeah, well, it's owned by NBC.
Yeah, I was on the Golf Channel. We've seen on USA. We've seen NASCAR races on USA Network.
Yeah.
Next year, no Cup races will be on USA Network, but 2 Xfinity races will be on CNBC during the Olympics. Iowa and Watkins Glen will be on
Road America.
Iowa Road America on CNBC.
Yeah.
Which is okay because it's not.
It's not the end of the world. It's just the Olympics.
It's not on NBC Sports Gold because a lot of fans will be pissed if that would have happened. But Joseph, do you want to know what's not I heard some practice and qualifying sessions will be on NBC Sports Gold, which is kind of annoying for people wanting to watch practice or qualifying.
Yeah.
NBC Sports Gold. They really want you to pay that money.
Hey, it's all about, like I said, there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Yeah, bro.
Yep.
ESPN, you watch from ESPN Plus, Danny?
Yeah, I did watch ESPN Plus, man.
I know. I'm sure he probably. I know Danny has to watch through an ESPN network or something from New Zealand, so it's a little different over there. So yeah, this guy, guys, let's put in some final thoughts because we are running out of time.
Ah, man, can't wait for the 2020 racing season to start.
Yep.
You know, we're nearly there, guys. We got some good. We will have some more good content coming for you, and yeah, just stay tuned.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, Martinsville. We still doing Martinsville, Joseph?
Yeah, we're definitely going to Martinsville, but we should also go to the Watkins Glen 6 Hours 2020 and meet about you, Blake. And Daniel Pinkett will go to the 2020 Le Mans race. Now that's cool.
Well, do you want to what?
Ooh.
Well, I heard if I graduate,
which you will,
2020. That's when I graduate. If I graduate, I'm going to the 2021 Daytona 500.
If you're going, I'm going.
Like I remember.
Yeah, me too, bro.
For some random reason, my friend Alex like, how about we go on the
That'll
broadcast?
We get to finally see the reveal of the Gen 7.
Yes, the Gen 7 debut.
Oh man, that's gonna be so awesome.
It will be.
Like I remember, like my friend Alex, like, how about we go on the broadcast booth during the race? I'm like, we can't do
Hey,
that.
in a few years, that might be us.
But right
yeah,
now,
that might
never
be
say never. Never say never.
This
This is pretty much a step one to that.
But currently, it's Mike Joy, which Mike Joy is about. Oh, Mike Joy, yeah, I just realized he's 70. Mike Joy's 70 years old, and Jeff Gordon's 48. Which, also, speaking of Mike Joy, Barrett Jackson auctions are starting soon.
He'll be there.
And do you want to know what I said about Mike Joy? I'm like, don't it be funny if they would have brought Darrell Waltrip? You know what he said? Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Do you want to know what Darrell Waltrip would say? Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's start bidding, boys. That would have been funny.
Justin, we should go to the Bathurst 1000. Yes, we one day need to go to the Mount Panorama circuit to go to the Bathurst 1000. That would be a blast. I would love to go to Australia one day.
Dude, you know what? You know where we should sit? Like the first turn going in, like right by the first turn by Hill Corner going onto Mountain Street. That would be
We're sitting right by the chase.
You're staying right by the chase?
Yeah, when you see those cars just turn right.
One thing,
I'll stand by mountains. I'll go by Mountain Street.
Speaking of Australia, The only thing we're not gonna do is fight kangaroos. I don't want to.
No,
go.
no.
Oh,
We'll be kind in the kangaroos. I promise.
I've seen people trying to fight kangaroos. It doesn't end. Well
That's
for
the
them.
wrong side of YouTube you're watching, buddy.
Yeah, it is. So don't go do anything like that, and stay safe during the rest of the holidays, and also I have a
Happy New
snowstorm.
Year, guys.
Yeah,
We're almost done.
Yeah.
Really, for me, it's weird. This snowstorm that I'm getting tomorrow is supposed to end on January 1st. It starts on the 31st, ends in January 2020.
The multi-decade storm. All
Yeah.
right, so that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. We're pretty much done for the for our 2019 portion of the Below the Yellow Line podcast.
Yep.
We are definitely going to continue next week. There will be more to come. And a few podcasts from now, we will get back into talking about racing. So yeah, happy holidays,
Yep.
happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2020.
Yep.
Peace out, guys.